You ever just want to quit your job, buy a boat, sail around the world?
Well, what if we told you that was possible?
I'm Raph.
And I'm Sasha.
With more willpower than money and a dream to become pirates,
We bought a sinking sailboat and spent the next 9 months transforming it.
Into one of the sexiest boats on the 7 seas.
There is nothing that can get in the way of us sailing around the world.
So grab your popcorn, hit subscribe, and be prepared for one hell of a story.
The story of our lives.
This is the journey of Spirit Animal. Last week, we designed the kitchen in the office and started on some carpentry work. We have it framed out, we have the countertops cut out, and the gimbling stove is on its way to completion. And after reading last week's comments, I can only imagine how many of you sailing nerds are sitting there yelling at the TV because I'm calling this thing a kitchen and not a galley. Well, times have changed, people. A galley was called a galley because that's where the gals would hang out at, cooking. And I don't think the ladies these days really appreciate that term. But I will continue to call this area a cockpit.
Oh, hell no!
All I gotta say is don't click on this channel to learn proper terminology, because it's not gonna happen. We're just two young souls trying to rebuild our boat and live our dream, so we could give a damn what it's called.
Now let's get back to the kitchen. We've got another load to bring to the boat.
Yeah.
This is how you do it. All aboard that's coming aboard. Stacking our dinghy full of random boat parts and lumber has been a daily routine for us lately. We are building our boat on anchor in the middle of the Fort Lauderdale Intercoastal Waterway, and it could be pretty comical driving past these 300-foot mega yachts waving as we're sitting there on our flat, loaded-down dinghy looking like the Beverly Hillbillies. Home sweet home. Okay, how does this gonna work? This past week, we've been chest deep in sawdust, and although we tried to finish as much as we could before I left for Europe, it looks like Rolf is still gonna have his hands full. I'm gonna get it all off.
Yep, we did not get as much done as we hoped. So tomorrow, Sasha is taking off to Europe to go visit her family in the Netherlands. And if you didn't think she was hot enough already, did you know that she's a dual citizen and also fluent in Dutch? Show him.
Rolf is een jongen die vastzit in het lichaam van een 33 jaar oud man. Hij heeft zachte handen, hij kan een banana eten in 1 hap en hij haalt himself in slaap elke avond.
Yeah, that's hot. Okay, now you go have fun in Europe, and I'll get back to work. Sasha is gone, so I gotta finish all the cabinets. The first project I decided to tackle was making a custom liquor rack out of this leftover piece of trim that came off of our old kitchen island. The plan was to cut it down and make it shorter, so once I did that, I pinned the 2 halves together with a pin nailer, put the rack on top of the table saw, and then slowly raised the blade to a certain height, which would give me a nice groove on the bottom side of the rack. Then I left the blade at the height that I raised it to and traced out a 1/8 inch piece of wood that I made in the exact shape of the saw blade. I glued the piece in, which fit nice and tight, and just like that, I had a cowboy's biscuit joint. Later, I'll sand the entire thing down, fill in the holes with some wood putty, and you'll never even see the seam. Moving on to the next project, I decided to build a pull-out trash can. We had to sacrifice one of the cabinets in the island to do this, but there was no place to put trash before, so it's totally worth it. Now, as you can see, I'm building this in an L shape, and that's because the compartment is also L-shaped. If I would have built a standard rectangle, then we would have had a foot of space in the back that would have been hard to get to. Another difficult part was trying to fit a standard sized trash can in a little compartment. I couldn't cut the cabinet opening anymore, or else we would have had to replace the cabinet door. So the best solution I could think of was to recess the hinges in order to make the trash can holder wide enough for a decent sized trash can. I spent the rest of the day building tons of random items, such as shelves, drawers, and even other cabinets. And then I had to hype myself up for the next step of the process. Okay, it is a beautiful rainy day today, and I am going to start finishing all these drawers. So we have drawers, we have cabinets, we've got shelves, and I'm gonna take them all, sand them, stain them, finish them so that I can try to get them on the boat. We have a ton of stuff to finish. We should at least get everything stained today and then hopefully finished between today and tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get to it. Now building is my jam. Hell, I can build faster than a beam reach. I don't really know anyone that can keep up with me. I'm accurate, proficient, it's my happy place. I can't read good, but I can build shit. It's just what I do. Now finishing is a whole nother story. 60% of the time, I underestimate it every time. It's a process you can't rush, and a process you have to have a lot of patience for. Some projects go smooth, others are a nightmare, but there's one thing for certain. Anything you build is only as good as the finished product. Here's the cliff notes. Sand it, stain it, sand it, and put 3 to 4 coats of finish on it. I know all that may sound easy, and most of the time it is, but just know that it will always take longer than you think, and there are no shortcuts. All right, now that we got all the cabinets made, still have to stain a few of them, but I need to get others out of the way. So it's time to install them. First thing I'm gonna start off with is this section with all these drawers that are gonna hold all my tools. Because if you come back here, they've turned into a dog pile. And I'm spending 30 minutes looking for a damn screwdriver, so I'm gonna organize my tools first, and that's gonna help me finish everything way faster. And by organize, I mean build a brand new toolbox. I personally think this should be mandatory on all new boat builds, because I don't care how new your boat is, you're probably in your toolbox at least once every other day. And right now, most people just throw them in a bag and put them in the bottom of their hatch, which eventually turns into a dog pile of rusty tools that you can't even find when you need them. So we're taking advantage of all the space we can, and we're putting this toolbox in the most convenient place possible. And I didn't discuss this plan with Sasha, but I'm sure she'll love it. Speaking of, she gets home tonight and I still have a ton of projects laying around. She's back!
I'm back!
And let the camera start rolling again.
Yeah, Mister over here doesn't like to pick up the camera as often as he should. So I'm gonna catch you guys up on everything that Raph did while I was gone this past week in Europe, visiting my family, and show you guys the amazing job that he did because it's really cool. As you can tell, I'm his #1 fan. So right now we are working on the kitchen. We've got the workshop here.
Money.
So I just saw you hammer this piece out. I think that's the old piece, or no?
There was
Why are you? Oh, because it has the same
I
face.
replaced it with some old wood to make it look like
The rest of it.
the rest of the kitchen.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him hammering it out earlier, and I was like, what is he doing?
It's the little things.
Yeah, no, that
We try to use as much of the old wood as we can to not only save money, but to try to make the boat look as original as possible, instead of some old boat with new patches everywhere. And plus, it's important that it looks good. I mean, this is our home, and I personally think that the environment you live in does affect the quality of your life in ways you might not even know, like your happiness or your productivity.
Want to show him what you did?
Installed some drawers, so we got our tools nice and organized. It's no longer a dog pile of mini boxes. Everything is nice and easily accessible. And that took a long time because if you notice, there is like an 1/8 inch in between all of these, and I had already cut out the gap for this door, so I had to make it all fit inside of this gap. This whole section used to be what it used to be, a deep freezer with like a ton of wasted space everywhere.
Yeah.
And so now it is, we turned it into our tool shed. Got 3 organizing boxes up top, and then
Freezer underneath.
freezer, and then from here up is nothing but those drawers.
And I don't know if you guys noticed yet, but
Oh,
look
yeah.
at this.
That's
We
gonna
got
be
our
bar
new
top.
bar top. This is the old rim of what this used to be, and Raph cut it up. You can barely even tell. You're just so good at what you do.
Still gotta sand it and finish it, but yeah.
But yeah, so that turned out really good.
Put some little pegs on the bottom. Haven't mounted it, but that's how it's gonna sit right there.
That turned out really good.
We're gonna have a little bar mat in front, so this will be the happy zone. The trash can, we got all this finished, and we got right here is I trimmed this out, so this is just a spot where you can quickly toss stuff away. Instead of opening that every time, it's really good. I love in the morning when I'm cooking eggs, because you crack that eggshell, you got eggs all over your hands, and you just dump it, you know?
Yeah.
You don't gotta set those eggs somewhere. We're still doing the double editing desk. We're gonna have drawers here, which I've already started building.
It's for our laptops.
Yeah.
Organized and safe while we're underway.
And then in the back, we're gonna have acoustic soundproofing foam that they use in recording studios. We're gonna put that on the back just for looks to make it official. And we're gonna have 2 nice monitors that are mounted on the wall so we can really crank out some work.
So anyways, that's a little update of Raph's week alone. I'm back, I missed you. That's it for now, update complete.
So, as you can see, we ripped the kitchen back apart. The countertops weren't quite dark enough, so we're going to restain them and make them a little bit darker so that they match this desk here because we like the chocolate color better. Right now, I am making another drawer here, which is gonna go above the fridge. It's gonna pull out like this. We're gonna have storage behind it, some seasoning racks here.
While Raph is inside working on the cabinet, I've started on countertop for the stove. I'm gonna continue sanding it so that way the stain will soak into the wood and become a nice, rich, dark color. And the way that we're gonna do that is we're going to sand it with lower grit. We sanded these countertops with 220 grit sandpaper. Raph sanded the office counter with 120, so it was able to soak in a little bit more of that darker stain. So that's what we're gonna do with this one as well. A little bit of a setback, but it's gonna look really awesome once it's done.
All these old screws that Beneteau used are rusted. When we try to screw them out, they just break in half. So you end up gotta cut them off, and the wood gets nasty around it and all that. So make sure you're using stainless.
We're both a little bit under the weather. I may have brought home a little cold. So we're a little bit...
try COVID.
No, I got COVID tested 2 times. I do not have COVID, just like a congestion. But we are finishing off the kitchen right now. Ish.
Shit, finishing my ass. Trying to finish. I'd say it's 3rd quarter.
3rd quarter. But this is our new spice rack right here. Raph's tacking it in. Just put some more shellac on, so everything is now sealed. This is the liquor bin.
The hidden liquor.
Hidden liquor.
There was all this dead space, so the fridge was right here, and there's all this dead space back there, so we decided to make this bin. So now we have a ton of storage for booze.
The booze bin.
The booze bin.
Now I want to speak Dutch. The kruiden bin.
And then
The
back here,
seasoning bin. And
we
then...
don't have anything for back here. We're just gonna leave that blank because we got pumps.
Yeah.
There's a little waste of space right there, but I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that's the only spot on this boat that's wasted.
We got a nice dark stain on the countertop, which is still sitting outside drying. So we will.
And it looks way better. Good call, Sasha.
Nice dark brown.
I was gonna leave it, but she went the extra mile and sanded it, and it looks great.
It was worth it.
Did I tell you Sasha gave me COVID?
No, I didn't. I gave him congested.
I am all jacked up on vitamin C right now. I don't even know how I'm moving.
He calls me dramatic.
It turns out I couldn't sleep with that wasted space, so I built one more box to put behind the sink. And now we could finally begin to attach everything more permanently.
Okay, so we won't bore you with all of the high-level math equations that we had to perform to get this done, but this is our gimbaling stove. And after we put in the storage box behind it, now when it gimbals, it hits that box. So here's our calculations. This is where it hits and our angles, and we think that if we cut this here, then when it swings back, it can tilt up to 35 degrees. And luckily our air fryer only goes this far back in this box, so we'll be good. So let's cut it. That's our piece and our jig for the other side. Now I know I gotta keep my blade on this side of this pencil mark because the thickness of the blade was cut off on the other side. Got it. Go see if it fits. All right, let's see it.
Let's check it out.
Oh, look at that. Would you just look at it? That's an angle
Look at
right there.
that.
We ain't never coming past that angle.
That is quite some angle. Shouldn't have to worry about the back of that box.
We really did it to 30. This is 35 degrees, so this is where we measured our upcut from.
But we
So,
just don't have to worry about it tapping now.
yeah, we won't even have to worry. Even if our sail slaps, we'll be cooking soup. Soup's good.
But just check this out. Custom gimbal box right there. It's not quite centered just because of the weight of the and the position of the air
Well,
fryer.
the air fryer and the counterweight. So our air fryer sits up front a little bit, which means when you put the air fryer in, the sucker goes like this. So
Let's see this invention here.
this is our old prop shaft, holy prop shaft.
We need to come and use somewhere else.
I cut it up, and that sits right back there as a perfect counterweight to equal out the air fryer.
Got some polyurethane. We're finally finishing the countertops. Big day. Finally the color that we've wanted them all along. So we got this nice rich chocolatey color on the countertops now that I love. We put 3 layers of gloss polyurethane on and then finished it off with 1 layer of matte. Then we focused on the backsplash. For this, we mounted a piece of plywood to 2 pieces of trim, and then we found a peel and stick aluminum backsplash off Amazon, which was perfect because it was easy to apply and it doesn't have grout lines, which could crack on a twisting, moving boat. We set everything back in place, checked the fit, and the backsplash was done.
All right, it is time to build out the office desk. Here we have the spot. This used to be a cabin. You can see up here that these are where the walls used to go, and we completely cut this out, redid the flooring, and cut this bulkhead back. We matched it with that side. So if you look at this desk right here, you can see how it curves up, and this side, in a sense, matches the design. This wall looks ugly. We're gonna sand this down nice and smooth, and we're gonna put a veneer on it. Okay, this is a cabinet I built, and this is going right there. And yes, I stained it. I thought it might look okay, and it does. It doesn't look bad, but I wanted it to look factory. So I ordered this veneer online. We got this from wisewoodveneer.com. And it's got a 3M backing, so you just peel that off, you stick it on, and then you finish that just like you would any other piece of plywood. For any boats like Beneteau or Jeanneau that are mass produced, they're gonna be using a veneer that is very consistent. So with that said, it's gonna be a man-made veneer. They call that reconstituted. So if you see the word reconstituted in front of any veneer, that means it's a man-made grain pattern. So all of these lines are very consistently spaced. This is quarter cut reconstituted cherry, and basically I went online and matched it to what they had. You cannot tell between the rest of the boat that this is not from the factory. So here's how we apply the veneer. We started off by sanding the project down to 300 grit, which made it extra smooth and allowed for a good surface to mount to. Then we took our veneer, set it on top of the project, making sure that the grain was in the same direction as the rest of the cabinets in the boat. And then we cut out the shape, leaving a 1/2 inch of overhang all the way around. After that, we wiped off the project with alcohol and then peeled the back off the veneer, stuck it to the cabinet, and took a blunt object and rubbed out all the air bubbles, starting from the center, working our way to the edges. After that, we took a sharp razor blade and trimmed off all the edges very carefully. And then it was time to apply the edge banding. Now this stuff has an adhesive backing already on it. All you have to do is set it in place, heat it up, and that allows the glue to settle into the wood. And once it's dry, it's stuck. We had to use a heat gun for this, but an iron would have been a lot easier. Now once again, we're going to take out the razor blade and carefully trim off all the edges. After that, you might have to do a little bit of light sanding in some of the corners, but that's pretty much the entire process. Now you're just going to finish it like you would any other piece.
Making some final touches to our office. We have the backing for underneath the desk, so that way you don't see behind, and all of those hoses and wires and everything are covered up. We'll have the drawers put in. Yeah, it's all coming together. We are on to the next project. We have finished the office. A couple final touches, more just finishing up little things here and there, but we have a lot of that too. So we are trying to just get the main projects done, the main carpentry, then we can get all that extra wood out and have more of a clean workspace.
Spirit Animal Lumberyard is still in business. So we've moved this wall back and now we're working with these two gaps. And here we've got the compression post, and on this side we have an angled wall. So we have to make a flat piece here. These are two pieces of plywood that I mitered and ripped all the way down, and I've glued and nailed them together so it's one long piece. Now I've got to cut them to height, but as you can see when they're on the wall, it's gonna be a flat surface. So this is what our door is gonna hinge here or hinge here, we're not sure yet.
We started by repurposing the old door trim. We mounted it by drilling and tapping 3 small screws into the compression post, and then we notched out the bottom of the backside to account for the weld behind it. On the other side, we had to carefully measure and cut our custom piece of door trim in order to fit the curvature of the ceiling. This way, we could add a little caulking when we were done to make it look built right in. We then countersank 5 screws down each side, applied power grab down both long edges of the board, then glued and screwed it to the wall. Once that was up, we finished it off with some more wood veneer, making it look original to the boat. The tricky part was mounting this at the correct distance from the compression post. We had to account for the thickness of the veneer, door trim, hinges, and the door so everything would work properly.
Perfect.
It works!
Okay, I decided to change the direction of the doors. To me, it just looks better when they're closed with the handles in the middle. Go ahead and close them, Sasha. Doesn't look as cluttered and just looks clean.
I like it. And the final and main reason, my favorite reason, is if we ever convert it into a master, then we'll have the doors swinging out versus against each other, because this wall will not be there anymore. So
yeah, this wall might come down one day, and these two cabins might be one big master. She tried to convince me a long time ago to do that, but I like to entertain and party. All right, now that we got our 2 doors hung, we are gonna have to make the headers.
in order to find these crazy curves, this is how we did it. We cut out a board at the correct width, and since we didn't have a protractor, we taped a pencil onto some scissors and used it to scribe the ceiling. When you do this, you're basically tracing out the ceiling right onto your board. I would recommend tracing it out on a piece of wood that's taller than what you need. Then once you cut out the curved side and get it to fit, go back and cut the bottom side at the correct height. If you try to do this the other way around, you'll likely end up too short, since you'll have to make some adjustments to the curved side to get it to fit properly.
Boom, that looks good.
Once we got the headers done, we made a new ceiling plate to finish off the top of the compression post. And finally, we caulked in the headers, which made them look built right into the mold of the ceiling.
I would say at this point we're about 80% of the way done with all the carpentry. And although we still have a long way to go until we're ready to set sail around the world, now is the time to sit back and soak it all in.
We finally have a place that we're proud to call home. No, it's not a time to get comfortable and complacent, but it's a time that we can take to look back and reflect on all the hard work we've put in so far.
For the last 8 months, Sasha and I have been working day in and day out and have been put through the absolute ringer. Countless people have told us we're dumb for buying this boat, and we've received nonstop comments and remarks about how we're in over our heads and we're not going to make it. But we haven't quit. We put our nose to the grindstone and kept pushing forward through a countless amount of testing hurdles that would have made 99% of the population throw in the towel. And frankly, when you're living in these kind of conditions, you don't have much time for friends and family, which is why we are very excited to finally show off some of our hard work to all the people that are closest to us.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude.
That is sick.
You didn't tell me this. Oh, I know.
That's
I
sick.
thought I'd be
Nice
able to
work,
try.
man.
Woo!
All right,
Get to hang out with spirit animals. You guys are awesome.
This is really nice. Nobody has seen the studio, just like for his office. That's what he wants.
I want this for sure.
That was the one thing.
But just the setup, the wood, everything. It's just so clean.
And we rebuilt. This was a bunk bedroom. This was all the wall. You can see
That's
where we tore the wall
that's
out.
genius then. Yeah. 'Cause you don't need a bunk bedroom.
Oh my god, y'all like really decorated. Oh freaking
So like,
the counter, then it stops. Oh. So then you lift that up. Oh,
cellar.
nice. Was this here before? No, that's new too. This was the...
During the next few weeks, we showed our friends and family the boat. We decided to add a couple more upgrades, such as pictures for decorations, these brackets so we could drop the table down into a full layout pad, and also this projector and projector screen that's hidden perfectly in our rod rack. Everyone absolutely loved the upgrades, and seeing the progress in person really showed them how hard we've been working to revive a boat that was once at the bottom of the ocean. Not only did we get some motivation to keep going, but it was also an excellent mental reset for us since we got to sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Yes, we still have a never-ending to-do list, but we'll worry about that next week.
The whole fucking world's gonna watch your videos on how to redo a sailboat.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Spirit Animal. We really want to thank all of our patrons. We say this all the time and we really mean it. We would not be doing this without any of you guys.
And if Patreon isn't for you guys, you can always like, share, subscribe to our channel. It's free, and it really, really helps us out big time. Also, we do have a merch store where we have some pretty cool hats, and you can check that out down in the description below.
See you guys next week.